Hello and welcome to my channel. Look at this. Look at them fall. It's raining creepers. For some reason, I find it very satisfying to watch. Mesmerizing almost. What you're looking at is an extremely platform efficient creeper farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition version 1.21 and further. How efficient, you may be wondering. Well, in a typical single tower, non-split density scenario such as the one you have on screen right now, the spawning platforms have a rate of 100% of efficiency. That's it, 100%. Which means we are not missing a single spawning spot. Not a single one. This is a lot better than my previous farm, which only fared about 80%. The consequence is, this new design performs steadily better than my previous best design and than most of the competition. It also surpasses pre-1.21 designs that used water streams at the same size. Without further ado, let's immediately take a look at the basics which make it tick, and then we'll explain in details how to build it. For this farm, I will showcase two builds. The first one will be the main farm, which is cave only, very easy to build and quite compact for what it achieves. The second one will be an extended version with an added surface platform for some more loot. The main farm will have a full tutorial, whereas the extended one will just be a showcase. Let's immediately start by checking out the principles that govern the creation of the main farm. Like every post 1.21 efficient creeper farm, this one relies on two major things in order to work. The first thing is a set of strategies to suppress non-creeper mobs from spawning. The second thing is pathfinding manipulation. Suppressing non-spider, non-creeper mobs is very easy. All you need to do is to place buttons or trapdoors on your ceiling. Skeletons and zombies will not be able to spawn underneath these buttons, as shown on screen. Spiders, however, will be able to spawn. Spider prevention is a little bit more tricky. It requires to place at least one slab, trapdoor or solid block every 4 blocks in one of the patterns shown on screen. So either this way, in a waffle pattern, or this way. It's basically the same pattern but shifted 1 block to the right or to the left. The problem is these spider preventing blocks occupy some spawning spots. So I asked myself, isn't there a way we could avoid that? And I found two solutions. The first one was this staircase pattern. It is good and very cheap, but it has a small issue with the amount of blocks that mobs are able to pathfind to. The second one is the pattern that you can see now on your screen. Basically, I'm alternating lanes of two different heights next to each other. These lanes are my spawning spots. The upper lanes here automatically prevent spiders from spawning on the bottom lanes, as you can see. But then the question is, how can we block spiders from spawning onto the upper lanes? And the answer is this. As you can see, we're using the spider blocking pattern shown earlier, but inverted. We are using a second layer identical to the first one with alternating upper and lower lanes. The trapdoors are attached to the bottom of the lower lanes. This successfully prevents spiders from spawning on top of the upper lanes of the first layer, as you can see here. Preventing other mobs such as skeletons is easy. All you need to do is add buttons everywhere you don't have a trapdoor. And there we have it. This is the advertised 100% spawnability. Now that we've got our base layout, let's move on to the next part of what makes a good creeper farm: pathfinding manipulation. If you've seen my previous video, you will know I used ice there. This time around, nothing of the sort. We're just going to use plain solid blocks. In order to understand how we will proceed with this part, you must first know how pathfinding works in Bedrock Edition. Mobs search for a block to pathfind to in a 21 by 15 by 21 box centered around their feet. If they find such a point, they will try and take the fastest path to it. When the terrain is flat or almost flat, it is very easy for them to do so. And they can move freely, as you can see here. However, when there are obstacles, as in our spawning platforms here, they can't move freely except to the points that lie inside of their lane. This doesn't prevent the mobs from actually finding target points outside of their lanes and trying to access them. But since they have no clear path to them, they just move and stop at the closest point they can find. Let's observe this with this creeper here. See, it just moved a couple of blocks to the left, and now it moves to the right. And then it stops. This means it has found a point that is likely to be outside of its lane, over on this side of the platform. But since it can't reach those points, it just stops at the closest point, which is on the same axis as the point it was actually trying to reach. This behavior is exactly what we're going to exploit in this farm. How are we going to do that, you may wonder? Well, it's simple. We're going to offer our creepers an access to their target points, or rather, what they will think is an access. To do that, we'll append a fake block to the end of each lane. By fake block, I mean open trapdoors, buttons, or coral fans. In other words, blocks that mobs think they can walk on, but actually fall through. Coral fans usually produce the best results, so that's what we'll use here. Let's place coral fans in our mock-up platform, like so. As you can see, as soon as we placed the last coral fan, our creeper started believing it had a path to the blocks it detected outside of its lane, so it tried to use it in order to reach its goal, but instead it simply fell to its death. Let's do it again. As you can see, they jump while trying to move to the right. The last one jumped while trying to move to the left. The thing is, though, we can't place coral fans at the end of the lanes of every layer of the farm. It is a little counterintuitive. But we'll have to alternate between layers that have coral fans and layers that don't. Otherwise, here's what's going to happen. Let's spawn a couple of creepers here. As you can see, they're not falling anymore. They're behaving in the same way they did when we were using no coral fans at all. This indicates that our creepers don't find a way to the blocks they are trying to reach. The reason for that is these coral fans on the top layer. Because while mobs detect coral fans as pathable blocks, at the same time, they also detect them as obstacles. The creepers think that these coral fans on the top layer prevent them from jumping. To their eyes, those are blocking their path to their target point. If I remove them, as you will see, our creepers will start jumping again. However, if we can place coral fans here on the gray platform, how are we going to force the creepers that spawn on this layer to jump down to their death? Well, it's actually quite simple. Remember how I said mobs search in a 21 by 15 by 21 box around themselves for target points? This means if they have no path available to a target point located at the same level as the one they are on, they will happily target a block below or above and move to it provided there is an open path. They will even willingly jump down onto lower blocks as long as they do not take damage. Their limit for that is 3 blocks of height. Luckily for us, 3 blocks is exactly the height we have between our 2 layers here, as you can see here. Now let's add a roof to this second layer and see how the creepers behave. Here. Now let's spawn a creeper on the second layer, like so. And as you can see, it happily jumped to its death, thinking it would safely land on this coral fan here. Maximizing the number of spawning spots per layer isn't the only advantage of this layout. It actually makes the farm quite quick as well. The only scenario where creepers won't walk straight to the drop chute is if they select a point on the platform that lies within their own lane. Otherwise, they will always walk to the chute. With 17 by 17 platforms like the ones we will use in the final farm, the creepers that spawn to the outermost lanes have only about 9% chances of selecting a block on their lane. Those that spawn right in the middle have under 6%. This means it is highly likely that the creepers will move to the chute every time they select a target point. Now that we have figured out both the non-creeper blocking layout and the pathfinding manipulation, let's move on to the tutorial and explain how to build the full farm. As usual, the first thing in order is to find our AFK spot. For creeper farms, the best biomes are ice spikes and frozen ocean variants, since those don't allow cave skeleton spawns, allotting more spawning weight to creepers. Once you have found the desired biome, go up high in the sky, at least 45 blocks above the closest spawnable point on the natural terrain. But I would suggest going at least to y equals 100 to avoid issues and leave room for the storage system. Mark your AFK spot with a block, like this pink concrete for example. Also add a light source above your head. Now move 24 blocks in any direction from this block inside of the desired biome. Now go down 25 blocks. Here, place a temporary block, preferably a non-spawnable one. You can use glass or a solid block with a torch to light it up, for example. We'll use the torch. This will be the first block of the middle lane of the lower layer of your first spawning platform. From that point, place 8 blocks to the left and 8 blocks to the right, creating a 17 long line. Like so. This temporary line will serve as a guideline to properly align everything in the farm in the beginning. When this is done, go to the last block to your left, on top of this line. From here, pillar up 64 blocks and place a non-temporary block there, like so. These blocks here are not required, you can remove them. This block that you just placed is the first corner of your roof. From this corner, extend a 17 long line to your right, like so. It should match exactly the guideline. From the rightmost block of this new line, create a perpendicular line of 17 blocks in length. What we're creating here is a 17 by 17 square. Complete the square as shown on screen. And this should be your result. Of course, the square must extend into the biome and away from your AFK. Once this square is done, we need to extend it to each cardinal direction by 8 blocks. And again, this should be your result. Now connect the corners diagonally, like this. When you're done, cover your roof to make it non-spawnable. For that, you can use slabs, torches, buttons, anything that makes it non-spawnable. I'm using slabs here. Spawn proofing it is not required for the main farm, but it's preferable, and it is also mandatory if you're doing the extended version of the farm. Once the roof is done, go back down. It's time to build the trident killer. For that, we have several options. The preferred option here is to use a row of 17 trapdoor trident killers, courtesy of the Tristone Society, equipped with impaling 5 tridents. Of course, this is very expensive, but you can absolutely use non-enchanted tridents at first and gradually upgrade them as time goes by. Just know that for as long as you will have regular tridents, creepers will require 3 hits to die instead of just 1. Your rates will, as a consequence, be slightly reduced. Let's get to work. Go to the very first block that you placed, the one with the torch. From there, move 1 block towards your AFK and 3 blocks down. Like so. Underneath this block here, place a magma block and then remove those blocks. Extend 8 blocks to the left of the magma block and 8 blocks to its right in order to create a line of magma blocks that is parallel to your guideline here, like so. Next to this magma block line, towards your AFK, place another line of any block that you want, like this. The magma blocks are the place where our creepers will land when they fall. There will be water on top of it, and the water will drag them down, preventing them from bobbing up and down, ensuring faster kill times. Now create walls around the platform that you just built, like so. This should be your result at this point. Now, from this block here, move 1 block towards your AFK again, and 1 block down, and place a line of the block of your choice. Like so. Place a block here, and a block here, and blocks here, and create another line. Like so. Now, 3 blocks above this lowest line here, create a line of temporary blocks. This is where we'll place our trapdoors. But be very careful. They are directional. Use a temporary pumpkin and place it where you can see it, like this. Its stem here will always point towards northwest, which means this is east and this is south. The hinge of your trapdoors must, and I insist, it must be placed either south or east. Plus, it must not fall on the side where mobs are fed from. In this case, we are lucky. We could place our trapdoors like this, or like this. But if our trident killer was on the opposite side here, we couldn't place the trapdoors like this, because the hinge would be on the side where the mobs are fed from. Place your trapdoors, like so. Once all your trapdoors are placed, replace the temporary blocks underneath with grindstones. The purpose of these grindstones is to perform relog proofing, as coined by the technique's inventor, Prime. This ensures that if your TK fails while it is running, due to a disconnection for example, all you need to do to repair it is to stop it, delog and relog once. All your tridents will be magically back into a working state. Add a wall here on this level and another one on this level, like so. Now we'll need something to feed a redstone signal to all of these trapdoors. For that, we're going to use target blocks, like so. Don't forget to spawn-proof them because they are spawnable. Now that this is done, right behind your trapdoors on this side, on the magma side, place a 2-block high wall, like so. And on the top block of this wall, place trapdoors and open them. These trapdoors will serve to properly align the tridents onto the trident killers. Once this is done, go back to your magma blocks and place water source blocks on each and every single one of them. On the opposite side, underneath the grindstones, place buttons to stop the water from flowing. Go to the lowest part of the trident killer here and place water source blocks on each end. Like this. As you can see, the streams don't meet in the middle. So dig one block as shown on screen, like this. Then to the back of this block, place 3 blocks, like so. And underneath, place another set of 3 blocks. Now the streams are joining at the center. From this block here, extend 6 blocks towards your AFK. On the 7th block, place a packed ice block and a button on top of it. Then extend 8 blocks more in this direction, like so. Place another packed ice block with a button on top of it. Place 1 more block, and underneath this block, place a set of 4 temporary blocks like this. Then add 3 hoppers as shown on screen. This is your collection system. You can start placing chests like so. Place as many as you want and connect them with hoppers. Like so. Immediately next to the last hopper here, place another packed ice block with a button on top of it. And next to this packed ice block, place a soul sand block. Underneath the soul sand, place a light source, like so. If everything went well, this soul sand block should be the block immediately behind your AFK here. This line here will be the item and XP duct. Close off its sides here, like so, as well as the top here. Once this is done, go back here and break this block. Water should flow up to the button here. Break this block, add a water source, close this off so that the water doesn't turn into ice. Here, place one last bucket of water, and then from this point here, extend a bubble column to the AFK. The bubble column will bring the XP to the player. At this point, this is what your farm should be looking like. Now let's quickly wire up the TK. You can bring down the signal however seems cheap and convenient to you. I like to use simple slime blocks and sticky pistons. This is our slime and sticky pistons pillar. Place 13 pieces of redstone dust on top of these blocks here. And on the 14th block here, over the packed ice, place a repeater. In front of this repeater, place a comparator, put it into subtraction mode. Add 2 blocks here, extend a line going back into the side of the comparator here. This creates a 4 game tick clock. Like so. Now add 2 blocks like this and a row of blocks here behind the target blocks. Like this. Extend the redstone dust line into each and every single of your target blocks. Now if I feed power into the comparator here, as you can see, the trapdoors are opening and closing very fast. This is your trident killer almost done. Of course, don't forget to throw the tridents. Now is the time to do it. Do it like this. Throw onto these trapdoors here and then close the trapdoors. The tridents will fall exactly where they need to be. Do it for the 17 trapdoors here. Like this. Now if I feed power into the trident killers, the tridents get ready to kill mobs. Like so. The last thing we need to add to our trident killers is a pressure plate here on top of the AFK spot and some redstone dust to activate this sticky piston here. Now every time you're AFK, the trident killers start working. Every time you go away, your trident killers stop. The hardest part is done. All that's left to do is to create the actual spawning platforms. For that, go back to your torch here. Remove the temporary blocks of the guideline. They are not required anymore. To the back of your first block here, extend a 17 block long line, like so. Now to the right and to the left of this first lane, extend 2 upper lanes like this. To the side of these upper lanes, extend lower lanes, then upper lanes, etc., etc., until you finish the platform. And this should be your result. When you build this in survival, of course, don't forget to light everything up with torches, because everything is spawnable and the roof here is creating darkness, as you can see here. To the end of each lane on the trident killer's side for this first platform, place coral fans like this. Now go back to your central lane here. Leave 2 gaps of air like so and place the first block of your second layer. From this block, create another layer exactly identical to the first one, but make it another color or another block to mark the fact that this one will not have these coral fans here. It will be easier to troubleshoot later if something goes wrong. And this should be your result. In survival, as said earlier, don't forget to light everything up in order to prevent mobs from spawning. Now go to this block here, leave a gap like this and place 2 blocks like so. Go to this block here and do the same. And create a wall for the entire length of the trident killer. Like this. This will serve as a guardrail to guide creepers straight into the trident killer when they fall. Once your second layer is done, go back to the first layer and place a trapdoor above the first block of each lower lane. Like so. From there, count 1, 2 blocks and then place another trapdoor. 1, 2 blocks, another trapdoor. 1, 2, trapdoor. 1, 2, trapdoor, etc., etc. Do that for all the lower lanes. Like so. Now fill in the gaps with buttons and also place buttons above every single spot of the upper lanes here. This should be your result. Now create a third platform of the same block or color as the first one and add coral fans to it. Like so. Underneath this third platform, you need to place trapdoors and buttons exactly like you did underneath the second one. Now create a fourth platform. Like so, and this one, like the second one, doesn't have coral fans at the end. But it has trapdoors and the buttons to prevent non-creeper mobs from spawning. Now repeat this process until you have made 17 platforms in total. And this should be your result. All the platforms have spawn-proofing trapdoors and buttons, which only allow creepers to spawn. The grey platforms don't have coral fans. The white platforms have coral fans. If a creeper spawns on any of these platforms, it will try to pathfind and get tricked into falling, as you can see on screen right now. Now, above your last platform here, create a glass roof. And this should be the result. As you can see, the glass roof also has trapdoors and buttons. There is also a guardrail here, in front of it. If we AFK, we can immediately see our first creepers spawning. Which means that this is it. The main version of the farm is done. Congratulations! This main version is no slouch, far from it. With looting 3, it averages over 55 stacks of gunpowder per hour, with just 17 cave-only platforms of 17 by 17 dimensions. That is over one double chest full of gunpowder, 3,500 gunpowder items per hour. That's a lot of rockets. Now, if you want to squeeze out just a little bit more juice from it, stay for the rest of the video, as we will now take a look at the extended version of the farm. Here is the extended version of the farm. For this version, I will not go through every single detail, since everything that has already been said applies. The extension is quite simple. It is a large surface cap platform that you can see here. It is placed to the side of the AFK, here to the left, at the same level. It measures 37 by 17 blocks and uses coral fans along with the characteristic alternating upper and lower lane design. The trapdoor and button placement underneath the glass is identical to the one we used in the main design. The only difference lies in this second roof above. Like for the solid block roof of the main farm, it must be at least 8 blocks above the upper lane, here. But the difference is that it must be made of a material that both lets through surface spawns, but also cuts down light enough that hostile mobs can spawn during the day. Here I'm using tinted glass, but you could also use leaves. If using leaves, though, don't forget to also add a layer of string on top in order to prevent snow from accumulating. The extended part of the roof, to each cardinal direction and to the diagonals here, can be made of a solid block and a non-spawnable block like slabs here. This is because no spawns will happen underneath. The trident killers are a simplified version of the ones used in the main farm. The reason they are simplified is because surface creepers are capped to a total of 5, so we will never see them bumping into each other as we would in the main cave farm. Here, we probably even have too many TKs. We could cut the number to 3 or 4 provided we could find a satisfactory water stream design. Lastly, you can see 2 villagers, one here and one above the AFK. Those are here to take advantage of pillager patrol suppression, which increases most hostile surface mob spawning weights whenever the player is in a village. The items and XP here drop straight into the main collection system here. And that's it. This is the extended version of the farm. As it is, it averages about 60 stacks of gunpowder per hour. That's about 3,800 items. If you're in the process of building my older farm, the one that uses ice, or if you've already built it, fret not. It is not a bad design by any means, and the uptick in terms of loot provided by this new farm probably isn't worth the effort of taking everything down and rebuilding. The ice design will serve you well, trust me. However, if you haven't started building yet, go ahead and do this farm instead. At least the main one. It is cheaper, easier to build, and produces more gunpowder per block than most of the competition that I've seen. That's it for today. If you have comments or questions, feel free to use the comment section. As usual, world downloads are provided in the description so that you can check everything that you want and verify rates by yourselves. There is one download available for the main version of the farm and another one for the extended. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.